to show you some scenarios which looks at how vote transfers could happen in Delhi. And there's a couple of important points that I'd like you to pick up when you look at this data. Because remember, there are very few states where this happens, where there is as massive a transfer as there is in Delhi between people who vote for AAP in an assembly election and the same guys go and vote for the BJP in a Lok Sabha election. And I'll show this. So what you're seeing first is, the vote share of the parties in the Lok Sabha. So you got in Chandni Chowk, if you were to add the BJP is in this dark red color, and AAP and Congress added together are in the purple color. So you see in Chandni Chowk, it's a very tight fight. 47 plays 50. In Northeast Delhi, 48 plays 48. New Delhi, 48 plays 49. 49 plays 49. East Delhi, 49 plays 48. These are four tight battles. So on these four seats, it's a very tight battle. In the other seats, there's a bigger gap. 51 versus 46 in South Delhi. 54 versus 43 in West Delhi. 55 versus 44 in Northwest Delhi. So in these seats, there's still a gap. But if there is a tight fight, the battle becomes far more compelling if Kejriwal's out on the ground than it would be if Arvind Kejriwal was in jail and unable to campaign, because his party doesn't have that kind of ammunition. Now they've got Sanjay Singh who's out, they've got Arvind Kejriwal who's out. But why is it that Manish Sisodia didn't get bail and Arvind Kejriwal did? And what happens to, at least the ED counted 11 prominent politicians, including the likes of Manish Sisodia or Hemant Soren, or even people involved in terror cases who are fighting a Lok Sabha battle, who want to now fight a Lok Sabha election and therefore will ask for bail. So Aryama Sundaram joins us. Aryama Sundaram is one of the country's sharpest legal minds, and on most issues he's hugely bipartisan, and therefore I thought it would be interesting to hear what he has to say about this bail order. Do you find it surprising, given the number of leaders who are in jail, that Arvind Kejriwal has got this bail, whereas various other people have tried for bail in similar circumstances and haven't? Now I want to give you an example. That Amrit Pal Singh character, who's fighting a Lok Sabha election and is currently in jail in Dibrugarh, he is also saying, "Meko bhi bail chahiye." Now Kejriwal's got bail, I'm also fighting an election, please let me out on bail. What do you make, sir, of the Supreme Court's order today? Aryama Sundaram.
Well, I'm not surprised with the order. I'm not surprised with it at all. In fact, if you look at the judgment of the Supreme Court, they're very, very clear on one fact. They say that, look, the argument that you cannot look at the person and you have to have a blanket rule for bail is totally ill-founded. Because whether you like it or not, you do look at the person, you do look at his antecedents, you look at so much. Bail is a personal thing. When a court is deciding whether to grant bail or not, it has to look into these other factors.
I thought they looked only at the factors in the case and not at the personal things, not at the election calendar, not at when polling happens.
No, I don't agree with you at all. On the contrary, when you have a leader of a national party and you're coming up with a Lok Sabha election, which is going to decide the next 5 years, and when you accept that democracy is a basic structure of the Constitution, and when you accept that this is the leader of a national party, then the question of granting not bail, please understand there's a difference between bail and interim bail, comes into play. The bench relied and referred to a judgment of Justice Sanjeev Khanna when he was a judge of the Delhi High Court, where he has very clearly pointed out that interim bail is granted where regular bail cannot be granted, or a bail petition is pending, or a matter is still pending.
Let me ask you this. Why is Kejriwal more worthy of bail than Hemant Soren? Hemant Soren also, why does he look less crooked than Hemant Soren? Why is Hemant Soren more guilty when the case against him also hasn't been completed?
Here it is not a question of deciding on the guilt. The court recognized a few things. One, the court recognized that an investigation which was meant to have started 1.5 years ago has still not reached the stage of framing charges, and that he has been arrested at this juncture when there's a Lok Sabha election. That is a very enormous factor to be taken into consideration. They have gone into the question as to not that the fact of whether he was arrested rightly or wrongly is pending consideration of the Supreme Court. The matter is in the course of hearing of the Supreme Court, and this is in the nature of an interlocutory order pending the decision of the Supreme Court in this matter. So there are a lot of factors at play here and not just one. Without being political about it at all, but being purely bipartisan, let me say one thing. The fact that Arvind Kejriwal went into jail is something I think that he himself invited by ignoring summons. The court has not forgotten that matter. The court specifically referred to it and said this is a ground, this is an important consideration, but said it cannot all be rested on that one consideration. They have to look at the overall picture, and having looked at the overall picture, has come to this conclusion. But please understand that Arvind Kejriwal has been let out on interim bail.
No, so let me give you this example, sir. Sir, Amrit Pal Singh has been arrested in April under the National Security Act. He's fighting the 19th Lok Sabha election from Khadur. Why does he not get a bail? Sir, Amrit Pal Singh, a Khalistani terrorist who created all manner of trouble in Punjab, has been detained since April under the National Security Act. He's fighting as an independent from Khadur in Punjab. Why should he not get bail? He'll say, I'm also fighting an election. My case also hasn't been completed.
2 points of difference immediately. You yourself said what he was arrested for, which was an act of terrorism, of national security. That is one important factor to be considered, what he was. Secondly, he was fighting as a candidate in an election. Now, in the case of Mr. Kejriwal, he is not out as a candidate in an election. He is a person who's a leader of a national party. And that national party is at the hustings, and he is not standing there as an independent for his own election.
But neither is Hemant Soren. I'm just trying to understand from you, sir. But neither is Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren. Why shouldn't Hemant Soren get bail on the same basis?
So has he applied for interim bail immediately on this basis?
He will, I'm sure. His lawyers, I'm sure, are looking at what happened in court. He will apply.
Has he applied?
Then what? No. So, okay, assume for a moment, Arya Sundram, assume for a moment that Hemant Soren applies for bail on exactly the same basis. How do you deny him bail?
Shall I tell you the whole difference?
Yes.
Shall I tell you the whole difference?
Go on, sir.
In Mr. Kejriwal's case, he is challenging his very arrest. He is not challenging an order refusing him bail. He is not challenging an order under Section 7045 of the PMLA Act, refusing him bail and that. He's challenging the very basis of his arrest. That the Supreme Court has seen fit to grant leave and hear the case as to whether his very arrest was legally founded or not. This is not a mere case of an appeal against refusal of bail. So please understand that different cases stand legally on different status. If you're asking a question, is this unprecedented? My answer is no. It may be unprecedented that a political leader in a given situation, but is it unprecedented to grant an interim bail when a regular bail cannot be granted at that time? Answer is yes, it can be granted. And that was the Delhi High Court judgment of Justice Sanjeev Khanna in the High Court, which the Supreme Court itself referred to. In fact, it recognized that interim bail is often given in a situation where a regular bail cannot be granted at that juncture. And in this case, the Supreme Court recognized that this is a case, the main case is pending decision of the Supreme Court. Arguments are going on, and this is an interim order in a matter challenging his very arrest.
Sure.
So please do not compare the two. They are not comparable.
But soon there will be. Soon there will be a whole plethora of cases where leaders who are in jail, all manner of people will rush with the same plea. And it'll be interesting to see what happens then. But Arya Sundram,
it will be very interesting, and let's see what happens then.
It will.
But as the court very clearly said, they'd have to take the fact situation in each case and what it is.
Arya Sundram, for joining us. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your thoughts. I'm slipping into a quick break. We are expecting more live images from the Delhi Chief Minister's residence. This is a big moment in this election. Make no mistake, no matter what your political affiliation, this is a critical moment in this assembly election, in this Lok Sabha election, especially in Delhi, in Punjab and Haryana, where polls are still due. And these are seats where the BJP was hoping to do well, particularly in Delhi and Haryana, and make some inroads into Punjab. How does Kejriwal's release impact that? We'll continue our coverage when we come back from the other side. Stay with us back in time.